The biggest battle of your life is not outside. It's inside your mind. Every single day, there is a voice in your head, a voice that tells you to wait, a voice that tells you you're not ready, a voice that tells you it's too hard. And most of the time, you listen to it. That is the problem, because that voice is not trying to make you better. It's trying to keep you comfortable. It wants you to stay safe, to avoid risk, to avoid failure. But in doing that, it also keeps you stuck. Think about it. How many times have you wanted to start something, but didn't? How many times did you delay your goals, even when you knew what to do? How many times did you choose comfort instead of growth? That wasn't lack of ability. That was your mind working against you, because your mind is powerful. It can build you, or it can destroy you. It can push you forward, or hold you back. And if you don't control it, it will control you. That is why most people never reach their potential. Not because they don't have talent, but because they lose the battle inside their own head. They let their thoughts decide their actions. They let their emotions control their discipline. They let fear stop them before they even begin. And slowly, they build a life they never wanted, all because they never learned how to control their mind. But here's the truth. Your mind is not your enemy, unless you let it be, because the same mind that creates fear can also create focus. The same mind that creates doubt can also create confidence. The same mind that holds you back can also push you forward. It all depends on one thing. Who is in control? You or your mind? Because if you win your mind, you win everything. If your mind is so powerful, then why does it control you so easily? Because it was designed that way. Your mind is not built for success. It is built for survival. It wants safety, not growth. Comfort, not challenge. Certainty, not risk. That's why whenever you try to do something difficult, it pushes back. The moment you decide to wake up early, it tells you to sleep more. The moment you decide to work, it tells you to scroll for a while. The moment you try to step out of your comfort zone, it fills you with doubt. Not because it wants to destroy you, but because it wants to protect you from discomfort, from failure, from uncertainty. But here's the problem. The same system that protects you also limits you, because growth requires discomfort. It requires effort. It requires uncertainty. It requires doing things that don't feel easy. And your mind doesn't like that. So it creates resistance. It gives you excuses that sound logical. It creates thoughts that feel real. It convinces you that waiting is better than acting. And slowly, you start believing it. You think you're tired when you're just undisciplined. You think you're not ready when you're just afraid. You think it's not the right time when you're just avoiding effort. That is how your mind tricks you. It doesn't stop you with force. It stops you with comfort. And comfort feels good. That's why it's dangerous, because you don't even realize you're being held back. You think you're making a choice, but your mind already made it for you. That is why most people stay stuck, not because they can't move forward, but because they never question their thoughts. They accept every feeling as truth. They follow every emotion as direction, and that keeps them in the same place. But the moment you understand this, everything changes, because now you see the pattern. You see how your mind works. And once you see it, you can break it. The moment you realize that your mind is not always telling you the truth, you gain an advantage. Because now you don't react automatically. You observe. You start noticing the patterns, the excuses, the delays, the moments where your mind tries to pull you back into comfort. And instead of following it, you question it. That is the first step to control. Awareness. Because you cannot control what you don't understand. But once you become aware, you create distance between you and your thoughts. You stop saying, I am tired, and you start saying, my mind is telling me I'm tired. That small shift changes everything. Because now you are not your thoughts. You are the one observing them. And that gives you power. Power to choose. Because just because you feel something doesn't mean you have to act on it. You can feel lazy and still work. You can feel afraid and still move forward. You can feel unmotivated and still stay consistent. That is control. Not removing emotions, but acting despite them. And this is where most people fail. They wait until they feel ready. They wait until they feel motivated. But control is not about waiting. It's about acting anyway. Because every time you act against your negative thoughts, you weaken them. And every time you follow them, you strengthen them. So the choice is always yours. Feed your weakness or build your strength. And the more you choose strength, the easier it becomes. At first, it feels difficult. Your mind will resist. It will push back harder. It will try to pull you into old habits. But if you stay consistent, something shifts. What once felt hard becomes normal. What once required effort becomes automatic. And slowly, you stop being controlled by your mind. You start controlling it. Understanding your mind is powerful, but controlling it requires action. Because awareness without action changes nothing. So if you truly want to win your mind, you need rules. Simple rules that you follow daily. The first rule is this. Do not trust your feelings. Your feelings change constantly. One moment you feel motivated, the next moment you don't. If your actions depend on your feelings, you will always be inconsistent. So instead of asking, do I feel like doing this? Ask, does this move me forward? And act based on that. The second rule, control your environment. Because your environment shapes your behavior. If your surroundings are full of distractions, your focus will disappear. So remove what weakens you. Keep only what supports your goals. The third rule, start before you feel ready, because you will never feel fully ready. Your mind will always create doubt, but action removes doubt. The moment you begin, your confidence grows. The fourth rule, keep promises to yourself, even the small ones, because every time you break a promise, you weaken your self-trust, and every time you keep it, you build confidence, real confidence. The fifth rule, limit overthinking. Your mind will try to analyze everything. What if this fails? What if I'm not good enough? But thinking does not create results. Action does. So instead of thinking more, do more. The sixth rule, train your mind daily. Just like your body, your mind needs training, discipline, focus, consistency. These are not talents. They are skills. And the more you practice them, the stronger you become. The seventh rule: accept discomfort, because discomfort is growth. If something feels hard, it means you're improving. So don't avoid it. Use it. These are the rules. They are simple, but not easy. And if you follow them daily, you don't just control your mind, you master it. When you start applying these rules, something begins to change. Not instantly, not dramatically, but consistently. At first, it feels like a struggle. You have to push yourself. You have to remind yourself. You have to fight your own thoughts every single day. And it's not easy, because your old habits will try to pull you back. Your mind will tell you to stop, to slow down, to go back to what feels comfortable. But you don't. You keep going, even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when no one sees your effort. And that is where the transformation begins. Because every time you choose discipline over comfort, you change something inside you. You become stronger, not physically, but mentally. And that strength builds over time. Slowly, you stop arguing with yourself. You stop overthinking every decision. You stop waiting for motivation. Because now, you act automatically. You wake up and do the work. You focus without distractions. You move forward without hesitation. That is the shift. You are no longer controlled by your emotions. You are guided by your standards. And once that happens, everything becomes different. Your confidence increases. Your discipline becomes natural. Your mindset becomes stronger. You are no longer the person who used to delay. You become the person who executes. And that is what separates you from everyone else. Because most people never reach this level. They stay stuck in their thoughts. They stay controlled by their emotions. But you didn't. You trained your mind. You took control. And now, your mind works for you, not against you. Once you take control of your mind, you unlock something most people never experience. Inner power, not loud confidence, not fake motivation, but a quiet strength that doesn't depend on anything outside of you. Because now, you don't need perfect conditions to act. You don't need motivation to start. You don't need people to support you. You have built something stronger, control, and that changes the way you move through life. Problems don't stop you anymore. They challenge you. Doubt doesn't control you anymore. You question it. Fear doesn't freeze you anymore. You act despite it. Because now you understand something most people don't. Your thoughts are not commands. They are suggestions, and you decide which ones to follow. That is real power, because when your mind stops controlling you, nothing else can. Not distractions, not opinions, not pressure. You become focused, sharp, unstoppable. And this is where your life starts to separate from the average. Because most people are still fighting their mind, while you have already mastered it. They hesitate. You act. They doubt. You move. They wait. You execute. And that difference creates results. Not small results, but real visible change. The kind that people notice. The kind that makes them wonder, what changed? but they won't see the truth. They won't see the discipline. They won't see the silent battles. They won't see the moments you chose action over comfort. They will only see the outcome. And that is the reward. Because when you win your mind, you don't just improve your life. You transform it completely. At the end of everything, there is only one question that matters. Did you control your mind, or did your mind control you? Because that answer decides your entire life. Not your talent, not your luck, not your circumstances, your mind. The way you think, the way you react, the way you act, despite how you feel. That is what creates your reality. Because every action begins with a thought. And if your thoughts are weak, your actions will be weak. But if your thoughts are strong, your life becomes strong. That is why winning your mind is everything. It is the difference between staying stuck and moving forward, between dreaming and doing, between being average and becoming unstoppable. Most people will never understand this. They will keep blaming their situation. They will keep waiting for motivation. They will keep listening to every negative thought and letting it control their life. But you didn't. You chose to take control. You chose discipline over comfort. You chose action over excuses. And that choice changes everything. Because once you master your mind, there is nothing left that can hold you back. Not fear, not doubt, not failure, because all of those begin in the mind, and you have already won that battle. So from this moment on, stop listening to the voice that holds you back. Stop following the thoughts that keep you stuck, and start becoming the person who decides their own direction. Because if you can win your mind, you can win your life.